I am here with Rebecca Cooke, candidate for the 3rd Congressional District here in Wisconsin, which is Western Wisconsin. It is
West
election
Central. We
eve.
got a little bit of
Oh,
Stevens
West
Point.
Central.
Yep.
Yes.
Stevens Point, Wisconsin Rapids. Can't forget about those guys. Our fun
There's
gerrymandered district.
how many counties? It's a lot.
There's 19 counties, so it's huge. It goes all along the Mississippi River border to Minnesota, and then it kind of juts into central Wisconsin, where we grow all our cranberries, into Stevens Point, Wisconsin Rapids, Portage County. Yeah. So yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot of ground to cover, and we've been in a lot of counties over the last 16 months and years running around here. So,
Yeah, and everybody just kind of says it's more of a rural district, and it is, but there's a lot of
yeah.
different, I mean, because it's so big, you've got
We've
manufacturing,
done,
you've got
yeah.
agriculture, you've got colleges, you've got,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it holds a
Six
lot of
UWs.
different, 6?
Six. Yeah. It's like total student population in the third congressional district is more than UW-Madison. So we have a lot of
Wow.
young people and a lot of like young power, like voting power here.
That is amazing. So,
Yeah.
primary election is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, if folks don't know, the 3rd Congressional District is currently represented by one Derek Van Orden, who is just, gosh, we can get into that in a bit, but he
Yeah.
is, let's just say, one of the most vulnerable House Republicans. And if Democrats want to take back control of the House this cycle, which is within reach for sure, this
Absolutely.
is one of the key flippable seats. So there's a lot of eyes on this race.
There
Um,
are.
and you've been everywhere, all over the place, and I know you're very
Yeah.
familiar with the district. You do have a primary opponent this time, and
Mm-hmm.
almost last time when you ran, you were kind of the outsider coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a primary opponent. I'm of the mindset that a good primary always makes all of the candidates better.
You work
And
harder. You always work
right,
harder. You can't take anything for granted. And I think that's important. And I think you see that sort of complacency sometimes with like incumbent members of Congress. And you sort of see why so many of them are being challenged this cycle. I think because you've got to be on your toe. You got to be out talking to people. You know what I mean?
hmm
And it can't be like 2 weeks to an election. You got to be working and doing that all the way along. And I think that's what I think has been a failure sort of in like folks that have, I'm a big believer in term limits, and I think we've seen people get really comfortable in office, and then I think we've
hmm
seen a lot of complacency in like the things that we want to see get done in our communities. So yeah,
hmm
I've definitely been an underdog candidate. I first started running when Ron Kind retired in 2021. And nobody bet on me winning that primary, but I overperformed in a huge way. I won 11 out of 19 counties, and we did tons of work doing a 19 county tour, showing up in rural spaces, working class spaces, places where people weren't typically talking about politics, and we were talking to folks. And I think we've built on that momentum over time. And I certainly was the outsider candidate last cycle as well.
hmm
Everyone kind of threw the kitchen sink at me. The establishment did. There was members of Congress in our own Wisconsin delegation that endorsed against me, sitting state legislators, the AFL-CIO,
I remember. It was, yeah. It was like, it was crazy. Yeah.
it was. And like, despite that, we had built this sort of people power movement building off of the successes we had in 2022. I didn't have endorsements from state legislators. I had union workers in support of Rebecca Cooke, healthcare workers, and like that kind of coalition building of just regular people, of voters, of constituents, and talking about the things that we knew they cared about. And so we've continued to like double down on that and continued, to run. I've never been the establishment pick.
hmm
This cycle we've gotten some establishment support for the first time.
Yeah.
But it's not like that came out of nowhere. It's because we've been doing the work here for a really long time.
Yeah, and I do think what folks who haven't like seen you through those
Yeah.
cycles may not realize is you have been the anti-establishment candidate, and
Hmm.
even though you have some of that support now and some of it came early, it's because you have been working to build trust and build relationships with them over the past 4, 5,
Absolutely.
6 years.
Yes.
And they're finally like, okay,
Maybe we'll
she's
give this girl a
performing.
shot.
Yeah.
Let's let her shoot her shot here, you know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that I mean in the last election, you did not win. However, you still did better than you did the previous cycle, and you outperformed even Harris and Baldwin in that
Yeah.
district, right?
Like in a crazy, I mean, so we outperformed Harris by 9,000 votes, and we outperformed Senator
Which
Tammy
is a
Baldwin,
lot just for
which is a
one
lot of
district.
votes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we outperformed Senator Tammy Baldwin by 5,000 votes, which is, to outperform Senator Baldwin is a really tough thing to do.
Yeah,
And
she's kind of the goat of like
she
winning
is.
Wisconsin.
But
Yeah.
she's somebody, I mean, I'm really grateful to have her endorsement and support in this race. And I've learned a lot from her and watching the way and in campaigning with her last cycle, she shows up and she shows up consistently. Like she's not on the ballot this year, but she was with me touring Mid-State Tech, talking about some of the healthcare pipelines that they have over in Wisconsin Rapids. Like she's out doing the work and like
Mm-hmm.
when no one's watching. And that's sort of
Yeah.
like what we've been doing for a long time, And I think like you can't underestimate in a red wave year, we outperformed every Democrat on the ticket. So it's like in what hopefully is a more favorable year for Democrats, like we should feel good about the work that we've done to cultivate that kind of support and like the way we've been working to try to bring people back into this big Democratic tent. Like folks voted for Trump and they voted for me. Like I see somebody with a MAGA hat on, I'm shaking their hand because I know that there's an opportunity for them to split their ticket. And the same thing right now with Tom Tiffany voters. I knocked a door yesterday in Prairie du Chien with somebody who had a Tom Tiffany sign. I'm not entirely sure how he got on my primary turnout list, but
On the list.
he said, I'm a registered Republican, but thank you for voting on my door, knocking on my door. But we had
How
this
did
really
the
great
conversation go?
It was great. He said, I'm a registered Republican. He said, and I mentioned to him, like, I feel like people like either like so far left or so far right. We need people that are really interested in working across the aisle to get things done, that are putting solutions first and people first above politics. And he said, I totally agree with that. He said, it's been totally out of control. And we talked about political violence on both sides, right? And just how that sort of rhetoric leads into those sorts of things and how dangerous it is. And so I said, I want you to keep this literature. I said, you could consider voting for me in the primary. There's not a lot of crazy things going on the Republican side of the aisle. And I said, and then I really want you to think about voting for me in the general. Like, we've got this guy, Derek Van Orden, who hasn't had any sort of in-person town hall be accountable for his votes, has, voted lockstep with the Trump administration. And I just hasn't, shown up and delivered for us. And we talked about healthcare. We talked about a number of different things. And like I've met with their hospital CEO down in Prairie du Chien and met with hospital CEOs around this district that are concerned about, what's the impact of this one big ugly bill on making sure people have not just like afford their healthcare, but have access to it.
Well,
So.
and access is a huge thing for healthcare, especially in your district where there are a lot of rural areas. And the
Yeah,
third district in particular has had a couple hospital closures. And
exactly.
it's one thing for people to read that in headlines about Medicaid
Mhm.
cuts and hospital closures. It's
Yeah,
another thing when you have a family member who's having an emergency or a heart attack, or you're going
right.
into labor and the hospital closest closed.
Oh
So
yeah,
now you've got a 45 or an hour long drive to a
Mhm.
hospital, which is quite literally can be life or death for people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have two very good friends. Actually, Libby, who worked on my very first campaign, she was like one of my best friends that just was like, yeah, I'll help you out when I decided to step up to run for Congress. Her and her husband just had a baby just this last week, and they live in Menominee.
Okay.
And healthy baby, everything is so great. I'm so excited for them. But they didn't have the baby in Menominee. They drove like 40 minutes to go to the hospital in Eau Claire because labor and delivery has closed in Menominee.
Mm.
And, I'm I'm here in Viroqua right now, and I've toured and talked to Vernon Health, like some of these independent hospitals that have been able to stay open. Um, but it's like, if we want people to come back to these small rural communities to have
Mhm.
access to healthcare, like they need that. If you want, we talk about public education and dwindling enrollment numbers. It's like people need basic amenities like being able to deliver a baby in their community, right? It's like, if you
Mhm.
want to grow a family, you want to be able to grow a family in a rural community, you have to have a hospital where folks can have children, right?
Right, and we
And then
have
it's
to
like,
be able to have the best institutions that can
mhm,
recruit the best healthcare workers and
mhm.
physicians to be in these institutions as well.
Totally. I talked with some folks. I met with leadership in Richland Center, which is just south of Vernon County here. And their hospital has been trying to recruit an orthopedic surgeon for 3 years, and they don't have a single psychiatrist in the entire county. But a great update. I was just in Richland Center last week. They now have an orthopedic surgeon, which is exciting. But like people,
Yes.
yeah, like basic
Go get your
needs
hip
met.
replacements. Yeah.
Right. Right. And so it's like, but this is sort of the bare, you know what I mean? We need to be able
Yeah.
to equip our communities to have the access to services that people require to live in our small towns to keep these. This is the Driftless, especially, is just such a special place. And you've been over here. I mean, it's gorgeous.
It
And
is gorgeous. And I feel like it's having a resurgence. I mean, I see people like my
it's
algorithm is
having its
really
moment.
working hard on romanticizing it. It's
Yeah.
working very well. I'm like, I gotta get back over there. Because
Yes.
it does have a bunch of small towns. And yes, it has a lot of rural farmland, but a lot of small, like artsy towns in
Mm-hmm.
between and
Oh, yeah.
communities who just like are just good, kind neighbors to each other.
Right. And people that like love the land, and that have come back to the land and like want to invest. And like, I think I talk a lot about like place-based politics, and like all politics is really local. And so it's like my platform that I've talked about for a number of years has been driven from the things I hear out in the community. And it's based on this place, right? There's so much crazy stuff happening at the federal level and in national
Hmm.
politics. And it makes you want to like, yeah, your head explode. But when
Scream,
you
yeah.
break it, yeah, no, and then when you break it down and bring it back to like what's actually happening here in our communities, and like, and not just like the finger pointing of like the other side is wrong or Derek Van Orden is bad. What are we going to do if we flip this seat in November and Democrats have a House majority? When we get gavels in hands, like we need to have felt results. People need to feel it in their pocketbooks and feel it in their bones that when they vote for a Democrat, their lives are better. And it
Hmm.
can't be some perfectly worded statement or vague sort of thing. It's got to be real and it's got to be tangible. So,
Well, and that's a good point. And I think, people are so angry and they feel like the establishment isn't hearing them, even with the
mhm,
current Congress. And that's one of the things I think about and worry about is like, okay, if we do get control, are they making a plan? Are they ready to go? Are
mhm,
they like, is Democratic leadership in DC
mhm.
going to be making the bold moves to do stuff right away? If you were elected, and
Yeah.
first of all, I feel like actually your experience winning over some establishment people could come in quite handy.
Oh,
Um,
one might want think. Yeah. It's like,
I mean, hello, like, what are the things that you'd be
yeah.
raising up the flagpole and knocking down doors to make
Yeah.
sure that leader Jeffries and other Democratic leadership are making sure is on their radar and they are
Yeah.
pushing for to get votes on?
Yeah. Day one, like HR1 has to be focused on healthcare. And like, the overwhelming, like people like are talking about affordability, are talking about costs. The number one issue and thing I hear people talk about in that lens is about healthcare.
Hmm.
And so the first thing I'd like to see Congress do when we have control of the House again, is to expand the ACA tax credit premium for 3 more years. However, that is a band-aid to our current, but people need that immediate relief because people have
Hmm.
seen their insurance premiums go up from $400 to $1,800 a month, and they can't afford anything, let alone like going on a summer vacation. That's number one. But I think getting a public option passed is something that I'd like to see us do. Expanding Medicare to cover vision, dental, and hearing. We talk a lot about organized labor and supporting organized labor. we have to get the PRO Act passed. When Dems have a majority, we have to do that. There's been opportunities where Democrats have had a majority and they haven't gotten the PRO Act passed. And for folks who don't know what that is and are very familiar with Scott Walker era policies, it would undo the work of Act 10 in right-to-work states across the country. And I think that would be such a huge piece of legislation that would have such a big impact on working families across this country if we were able to do that. And I've gotten the endorsement and support of the AFL-CIO, 15 labor unions from across the district and across the state. And it's because we've been showing up talking about those things. And it's like, how long are we going to keep showing up and talking about those things, right? Until we actually get some things done. And then the other thing I'm really interested in, and this is like, I think you saw this play out a little bit earlier in the Congress with committee assignments and the way they've always been done, right? And it's focused on seniority. And you see people that have held these powerful committee assignments and they sort of do things like the way the good old boys always have done, right? And it's like, there's going to be a ton of new young members of the House coming in the fall. Like, we should be putting some of those folks into positions of power instead of being like, wait your turn. And it's like, it's not time to wait our turn. Like, the time is now if we want to pass meaningful legislation that actually delivers for people. Isn't it just like, there's so much like rhetoric and talking points, and there's real opportunity to get things done. And I think a lot of that has to do with like who's in some of those committees. And for Republicans do it differently. The way they select committees. It's not based on seniority necessarily. And I think institutional knowledge is important, but I think we also have to think about how do we give people an opportunity to lead out of the gates,
Especially on the House side, like the Senate has sort of a different makeup, and they have longer terms they're serving, and it is meant to kind of be more established people who have been in there for longer. But the House was designed this way to bring new ideas in and to have almost a quicker turnover so that it is more aligned with current public sentiment and getting things done. It is not supposed to be these dinosaurs who have been in there for 4, 5, 6 terms and are waiting for their time to chair a committee. And by the time they do, they're so out of touch. They have no idea what healthcare costs costs. Okay, so, and I'm so glad you talked about the union endorsements, because I think that's something that is like old school, maybe establishment politics that people don't, it doesn't get as many headlines or clicks. But the more I learn about politics and what is involved, I've learned how critical those union endorsements are, but not just the endorsements, the trust from the unions. And these
a trust, and it's like, because they don't give them out lightly. And it's like, as somebody who's, like, I didn't have the AFL's support in my primary last cycle, and for them to back and believe in me and see the work that I've been doing, it's like, I don't just talk the talk, I walk the walk. Like, when Amplify Gunderson workers were organizing and doing pickets, I was out there in 2022 in -10 below weather in front of the hospital in solidarity. I was there last year in 100-degree weather, different time of year, marching with them. And when I meet with leadership in some of these organizations too, I bring up the unions and like what's been going on with the union. I'm not just talking just about healthcare policy or what they would like me to like, how to keep their hospital open. I'm also talking about what's going on with your workers, the people that work here. And I think the same thing. It's like I've shown up for Teamsters when Leinenkugel's workers, rest in peace, Chippewa Falls, were picketing for better wages. Same with UPS Teamsters, and it's just like I'm not just going to union halls and saying the right things. I'm there when they need me. And the same with like the Postal Service. Like, the federal government has tried to privatize our postal service. And so I've been out with APWU and the letter carriers and some of their actions as well. So it's just, those are important things. And those are the people who power our communities at the end of the day, and that's getting back to like what we started on, like coalition building. It's like small business owners, healthcare workers, it's not just union members, but people that are part of all these different sectors, and making sure that they know I have their back, because we've got all of these, I think, big corporate conglomerates that are coming in, and it's like, big businesses aren't necessarily bad. It's like, who is taking advantage of their workers? Who's making record profits off of their workers? It's like corporations
Right.
provide jobs, but like, you look at like big tech and like these data centers, which I know you've been talking to a lot of people about, and there's a lot going on down in your neck of the woods, but there's a lot going on over here in Western
A
Wisconsin
ton.
too. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you hearing from people as you're making the rounds about that? And what's your position? I know you've always been
Constantly.
very like you've been
Yeah.
very a big proponent of holding huge corporations accountable.
Yes.
So
And
what
enforcing
are
antitrust law and like,
yeah.
yeah, and I've talked about this in a number of like our forums about guardrails, and I've been having conversations in our communities, and I've been calling for a moratorium, and that's been something we just did some recent ads with somebody that's an activist over in Menominee where they've been pushing back on data centers, and a moratorium isn't banning data centers, but it's like, let's press pause here. Stuff is moving way too fast,
Mhm.
and just even AI and what's happening. What does that look like for our job market, et cetera? Like, we need to really think about these things versus having big tech and folks like Elon Musk. Elon Musk has given the maximum amount of contribution to Derek Van Orden. Has also SpaceX, his company, is also, his PAC has given money to Van Orden. So it's like you sort of know who's influencing him.
Mhm.
And it's like, we've got to have people that are going to speak truth to power and have some spines on this stuff, and just say like, hey, let's press pause here and make sure that ratepayers are protected, that, folks' utility rates aren't going to be jacked up and through the roof. Let's make sure that our environment is protected. Especially, there's been things proposed here in the drift list, but also over in Menominee where we already have water quality issues, frankly, which would just
Right.
add more problems.
Right.
And then there's long-term job creation and that our communities aren't taken advantage of. A lot of the way that these companies are going about this is probably the worst part of it, is it's like shrouded in secrecy and with NDAs. And I think people
Yeah.
are just looking for transparency and an opportunity to weigh in about what is being built in their communities and by who and how,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, and I think, I mean, you think about Derek Van Orden, he can say whatever he wants about them, but the fact is, these data centers and the huge push to build more of them is all coming from President Trump. And
Right.
Derek Van
Who
Orden is very
talked about
aligned with,
building data centers on public lands?
yeah.
Like, what the
And
fuck?
Derek Van Orden is so aligned with him. And anytime
Yeah.
he is in the district talking to
Yeah.
people, it's not open to the public. And it is always with a member of the Trump administration.
Mhm.
So you want to
Mhm.
talk about DC establishment elites.
Mhm.
I mean, Derek Van Orden's eaten out of their hands.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing. Like, he has brought in over 10 cabinet officials to the district. And to me, it's like, and it's always
The
like,
worst
just
ones,
like,
too.
I know, it's just like a dog and pony show out here. It's like, okay, Derek Van Orden's having an event, and now it's with RFK Jr. It's not just like Derek Van Orden is having an event and talking to constituents. It's like
Right.
Derek Van Orden can't carry his own water, so he's bringing in DC elites to come and do it for him. RFK Jr. came into the district, healthcare secretary, right? You think he's going to
Mhm.
come in and talk about in Elk Mound, right between Eau Claire, where we lost 2 hospitals, Menominee, lost our labor and delivery. He's coming to talk about moving milk to the top of the food pyramid, right?
I mean,
So
it's
out of
like
touch. It's just like, man,
preposterous.
and this rural health transformation fund, like, you've probably heard about that. It's like $204 million. Okay. So that's for the whole state of Wisconsin. Divide that by 72 counties. That's about $2 million a county. And when I look at the needs, the healthcare needs around this district, it's not even a drop in the bucket for what our communities need. And then that like same day that RFK Jr. is here, Trump comes, or it's that same week, RFK Jr. is here on Monday. Trump's in the district on Friday. And it's like, can this man host any events on his own? Or, so Trump
I
comes
would love
to
a
the
reporter
district.
to ask him if he can name 5 constituents, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean,
mean,
come on.
yeah.
So Trump came and it was just a disaster too. I mean, he was supposed to come and talk to farmers about all the things they've done to support our agricultural industry. And then he's like, here's my ballroom. Here's my reflecting pool. It's like just a slap in the face to people. And I think the folks that I'm talking to hear and see it. And I've had so many conversations of like, I'm a 2-time Van Orden voter, or I'm a 3-time Trump voter, and I'm not doing the same thing again.
Yeah, I mean, if you vote for somebody multiple times and nothing is changing, in fact, it's getting worse, and
Yeah.
farmers are struggling and they keep voting for a war and sending so much money over
Right.
for a war that nobody wants.
Nobody voted
And
for
I
him.
think even at the end of that event, Trump was like, "Well, I got to go get back to bombing Iran." It's like nobody wants that. And at some point, it's like they're two terms.
Right.
Give something else a shot. Give somebody else a
Right.
shot because
Right.
he is
Right.
clearly not doing anything for anyone
Well,
except
and Trump,
making deep fakes on the
yeah.
internet. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, I want to get into that. But like, I think I wanted to say something about the war in Iran. And it's that like Trump and this administration and Van Orden also like campaigned on this America First agenda. And when I don't know about you, but when I think about America First, I think like making sure our public schools are funded, making sure people have access to healthcare, that folks could buy a house and start a family.
Mm-hmm.
He campaigned on no more forever wars. And then this war in Iran has been putting us billions of dollars more into the hole. People don't have money in their pockets, right? And it's just
Mm-hmm.
farmers are paying the ultimate price because of the increase in fertilizer prices and diesel prices. And it's just the opposite of what both of these guys campaigned on. And it's a lie. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And what is I mean, he's always been one of the more unhinged members of
Mhm.
Congress. He's
Yeah.
there's many reports of him screaming at various young people.
Hmm.
But now he's making these like AI videos of you
Yeah.
that he's posting all over Twitter.
Oh,
How is
yeah.
that? I mean,
I mean,
is Speaker Johnson or somebody going to be like, "Hey, that is
yo, yeah.
you could say what you want, but like that is crazy."
It goes back to like, who is this man in the pocket of, right? And it's tech billionaires. It's like he is
That's
using
true.
AI in a means in which is like totally false.
Mm-hmm.
And we've already seen legislation introduced working to try to ban like deep fakes in campaigns and political campaigns, which I'm obviously a huge proponent of. And like people don't like AI really in our district. I mean, like in that sense of like, I think it's really rubbed people the wrong way, and even a lot of his supporters. It's like, sure, like you can bash this girl on policy on X, Y, and Z, but like when you're putting words into her mouth and using her likeness and image it's like creepy and weird. And I think people
It's
feel creeped out by it.
It's very creepy. It's very weird.
Yeah.
It's very unhinged. And this is the exact type of use that people don't want data centers
Yeah.
for. Like Mayo
Right.
Clinic is using AI
Right.
to find cancer earlier and cure,
Right.
like help kids. And there are wonderful uses for AI, but
Mhm.
unhinged Republican members of Congress who are using it to make fake videos about their
Yeah.
opponent and wasting our water doing
Right.
it is not the vibe.
Absolutely. And that's like, and that's exactly it. It's like, that is the misuse of AI. And this is like, you're getting these data centers in here so that you can create more slop on the internet. It's like, this guy's got to like climb out of his basement at some point and see some sunshine, touch some grass, and like talk to real people.
Yeah.
Nobody wants this kind of shit. And so
Yeah.
it's been, I mean, it's frustrating. It's like, to me, it's a sign of desperation. If you can't
I agree.
stand on your own feet, say things with your own voice, craft a meaningful message. It's just like, I don't know what this guy's, what he's running for office for. It's just live tweeting on the
Yeah.
internet consistently. And it's just like, we have deeper needs here in this district than what he's able to meet.
Absolutely. And I hope you get a chance to knock him out this time.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to voters who are still undecided at this point?
Yeah.
I know you have
We're
an
hours
opponent
away.
and I know, and they're like, they've heard a lot of different things,
Yes.
but they're wondering if they can trust you as their fighter.
You can trust me as your fighter. We have a proven history of showing up, right? I have a proven history of showing up in your communities at your doorstep, asking about the things that are keeping you up at night. And not just that, but like solutions to those things. We can flip this seat. I'm the best positioned to be able to do that from the infrastructure we built over years of building trust and relationships in our communities, to be able to take on Derek Van Orden and with people across people of all political stripes, right? Progressives, moderate Republicans, and even some people that went for Trump. And like, we have to come together sort of in this moment in our country where our soul is being taken away, to fight for that. And I think that I'm that sort of fighter that's going to be able to do that because of the deep roots and the experience that we have of intricately knowing this district, intricately knowing your needs. And I'm one of you. I grew up on a dairy farm here. I've run a small business and understand the challenges of trying to keep one open. I've been a waitress since I was 16 years old. The Republicans like to say,
Yeah.
this woman's never waitressed. Mike Smokehouse, my first job, look it up, was 16 and worked all through college. I understand those things because that's where I come from and that's who I am. And I think that sort of authenticity and lived experience, I think, is important to voters, in knowing that where my heart is and the way that I'm going to fight for us in DC. So.
Well, and I will vouch for all of that real quick with a quick proof point, because a couple years ago in the 2024 cycle, there was a big rally in Eau Claire that a lot of people were coming in for, and the traffic was crazy. And I was talking about it on my account, and people were trying to figure out where to go. And you had sent me a message. You're like, start a group chat. If anybody needs somewhere to park, my family's farmhouse is right there. They can come over here and they can get anything. And Rebecca was in the group chat, like letting anybody know if they need to come there. And that there's a lot of noise online, but that is always the person I have known you to be, and I know you will be. And I know campaigning gets crazy, and you got to win over all these people. But that is who Rebecca Cooke is to me. So I hope people.
Well, it's been really fun getting to know you, Kate. And I just love what you're doing and like creating a space like this online, because it is just a bunch of shit posting usually, but like. I feel like you tell it like it is, and that's sort of the way I operate. And I just think we need just more like just regular people sharing their perspectives online. And, I know a lot of your folks that follow you are busy taking care of kids and going to work and caring for aging parents. And like, I just want people to know that any way that you're able to plug into the stuff that you're seeing is great. Whether you're following Kate, liking her posts, like sharing things, that's awesome. Whether you're able to write some postcards at home, or there's just all these different little ways. And like, I reminded my team this last week as we've been like pounding the pavement and knocking it's crazy and busy and it's hard work and it's sometimes tough conversations, but like big wins, like winning back the House majority or flipping a really competitive seat, are compiled of a number of small conversations. The last door that you knock at the end of the street, the phone call you make when you're really tired, the conversation that you have with your neighbor that's sort of difficult to talk to. And like those small compilations of conversations are what win House majorities. And I think that's important for all of us to remember.
Absolutely. Okay, so everybody go get out there and vote, and maybe even go outside and ask your neighbor if they're going to get out and vote too.
Go out and touch grass. Everybody get outside.
Maybe lay in it. I need to go like just starfish in the grass. Exactly. Okay, well, I won't take up any more of your time. I know you've got a crazy busy day and election days tomorrow. I know. Thank you so much.
One last thing, Kate. One last thing. myvote.wi.gov. Go there if you don't know where your polling location is. Go there if you don't know who else is on your ballot. That's all I'll say.
Make sure you know who you're going in for before. They make it super easy, very nonpartisan. They'll give you the information you need. Make a plan.
Cool. Thanks,
Good luck. Bye.
Bye.